And we are live with the Miss Marvel Aftershow, episode 1. It's that show brought to you by The Keeg, where we watch an episode of a show, this one specifically, Miss Marvel, and we talk about it afterwards. So if you've seen the Miss Marvel, first episode of Miss Marvel on Disney+, come out here and listen to us talk about it. Who am I? I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. If you are watching the live stream, you're watching us on Volume, Twitch, or YouTube, and you can see who my amazing guest is. But if you can't, and you're listening to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, then you can't see who the guest is. So I might as well just introduce them. We got Risa, aka Raisin Cosplay. Risa, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I want to know everything about you and your cosplay and Miss Marvel and like the episode, obviously. But you had a special opportunity to come out to California and do like the red carpet Miss Marvel premiere thing, right?
Yeah. So the amazing Lady Toxie, fellow cosplayer, she's at a Lady Toxie, Toxie on Instagram, invited me. She really wanted to have me as a Desi Swana Muslim cosplayer on the red carpet with her. And I had an amazing time. I'm on the East Coast. I've actually never been to the West Coast. I've never been to a red carpet event. So I was like, yes. And I actually made a Miss Marvel cosplay in one day because I had to just drop everything and do it in one day. 24 hours.
Okay. Is that the cosplay that's on your Instagram and everything?
That is, yep. And I have a couple of videos on my TikTok on like my process of making it in one day.
I didn't know you made that in one day.
Yeah, literally, she texted me on Instagram. She was like, do you want to come to this? And I was like, I have nothing to wear. Can I give you until tomorrow to let you know if I'm coming or not? So yeah. I made it, like, literally, I started right there. I'm a fabric, and you can see podcast viewers can't see it, but you can see my workshop here in the background. Yeah. I just hoard a lot of supplies. So I happen to have almost everything on hand to make it. Yeah. And then I got far enough into the costume where I was like, this is what I'm wearing. I'm coming.
That's a very Kamala Khan thing, especially in this first episode as we're watching this first episode, we're like, okay, Kamala has she's making her own costume. And then also we'll get to the specifics, but she's like, what do I wear? What do I put together? What is me? Blah, blah, blah. And I feel like you went through that as well. And you just had a day to do it.
Oh yeah. I think her and Bruno had longer than a day. And I didn't have superpowers to kind of flash around, but I am very happy with how it came out. I did make it was the classic version from her first 2014 run. Okay. Because that's just the one that I, is closest to my heart. So that's the version I made.
I think it's really interesting that we have a Miss Marvel show. Again, we'll talk about the specifics, but I think, were you excited when they announced that they were doing a Miss Marvel show? Because I feel like it's wild to think that we have a Miss Marvel show now.
So when the comic first came out, I was actually very similar in age to Kamala when she debuted. And when the comic first was announced after her first appearance in Captain Marvel, I want to say number 41. I could be wrong. Okay. I was floored. I did not ever think there would be a title hero. And I kind of thought a lot of those representation-based heroes that kind of come around, they have one run and that's kind of it. Yeah. But she lasted. And now to see that she has her own show, I never would have thought that she would come this far. I never would have thought that the fans would latch onto her the way they did and embrace her the way they did. So seeing her, I feel like now I was telling my husband, I was like, oh, the MC is basically the comics now. We've gotten to the point where it's they're putting anyone they want into the MCU. Right. And that includes Kamala. And I'm really, really glad that it does.
I think what was interesting is not only this show, but I think even before the show was announced, they had the Avengers game that had Kamala as kind of the main kind of center character in the game. Did you play the Avengers game?
I didn't play it, but I know like people that did play it, that she was like their favorite, which was amazing. And I loved her design in it too. I love what they did with her hair and her costume and everything. But I think it helps that she in the comics has such a close and similar relationship to Spider-Man with Peter. And so I would love to see her one day in a Young Avengers team.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. I don't think she's been
I want her in Miles.
I know. Yeah. I know. I'm waiting for a Miles movie.
Yeah.
I'm so waiting for a Miles movie.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned earlier about kind of like these characters that are supposed to be representative are just kind of one and done characters. And that just shows like when a company just like creates it just to show that they have that person. And then they're like, they don't put money or time behind the character. They're like, they don't believe in the character in the longevity sort of sense. They're just like, here is, for example, DC Comics. Like, here is Vibe. He's Puerto Rican. He is in Detroit and he likes to break dance. And like, then you have Vibe, and then it's easy to write him out because he he got a pun intended. He doesn't vibe with everybody, right? He's just kind of there to be Vibe, and that's that. But like, what makes Kamala Khan different?
I will give some of these companies credit in the sense that like it's not necessarily them that's not embracing these characters. Sadly, I will say this has changed for sure, but especially in like the earlier 2000s and definitely before that, people weren't as willing to embrace those characters. Of course, yeah. Like I give DC a lot of credit for putting Jon Stewart in the mainstream, and then he was like he's everybody's Green Lantern, not Hal.
Yeah. Well, now it's Hal, and I have problems with that.
Well, I think people still have a connect. I think people still have a special place in their heart for John.
I feel like it's us if we grew up in that time where Justice League.
That's true. That's true.
Because like I was looking it up. I was like, what are the times like? At the time, 1994, Kyle Rayner is Green Lantern because Hal is dead/evil, and then during that time, Jon Stewart is Green Lantern in Justice League. And then in like 2004, Hal comes back. So there's like 10 years of Hal just being dead/evil. So like John and Kyle are like the big Green Lanterns. But then they kind of put Hal back in. And
I like Hal, just not as much as John. I do. I like him more than
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're hopping all over the place as far as companies are concerned. That's DC Comics. This is Marvel Comics. But yeah, you're right. Like, Jon Stewart is him and Kyle are like my number ones in like Green Lanterns at DC Comics. Do you felt like people's embracing of John is very similar to people's embracing of Kamala?
Yes and no. I think that you're right. DC's willingness to put John forward in the animated universe was really the big thing. People grow, kids, they don't learn race. They're not racist. They don't learn that, when they get older. So when you grow up with John, it's like, this is Green Lantern. He's Black. Who cares? Right. But I was surprised that people embraced Kamala so well. Of course, when she started, I don't know what makes her different other than I feel like the Muslim community and the Desi communities banded together and they were like, we're not letting her go. Her and also Sana Amanat, she's the creator of Kamala. She's been working for like a decade. Was
she the creator of Kamala?
Yes. I want to say yes.
Anyway, sorry, continue. I'm just gonna look this up.
Yeah, I just think just in general.
Yes. I was thinking G. Willow Wilson. Oh, but it's like multiple people are credited as creators.
She was an editor. She wasn't a writer. I think G. Willow Wilson was the writer. Yeah. And I just think the team around her was passionate enough to just be like, we're not letting her go. We don't care. And I think Kamala's comics, they got people who are Desi and Bengal or Muslim who wouldn't have otherwise picked up these comic books to pick up these comic books. And also, unlike these other heroes, like even John and Spider-Man, they have decades of comics behind them. I think Kamala's comics are really easy to get into because it's like you start at the 2014 run, the 2015 run is basically just volume 2 of the same run.
Yeah.
And it just goes on from there.
Yeah. I love Kamala. I've been reading her since the beginning. And I feel like everybody that I know that loves Kamala they can relate in some way, shape, or form, right? Because Kamala is so many things. You brought up like Jon Stewart, and I think that Jon Stewart had an uphill battle. But I think Kamala has an extra uphill battle just by being a woman and being a young, like a girl, right? Where people aren't going to take a female hero seriously. They're definitely not going to take a teenage female hero seriously. Like, what is she, Sailor Moon? You know, like people are just going to be like, she's just one of those characters, right?
Oh, yeah. And I see that so much with the show. I feel like on YouTube, TikTok, like somebody makes a video about it and they're like mid, like she looks mid, nobody's going to watch this. This is childish. And it's like, it's a coming of age story. She's a teenager. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that adults can't enjoy it. Weren't you a teenager once? Like, and we love Spider-Man. We love Miles. We love, we love the Runaways. And I actually love, I would liken her a lot to the Runaways. I would love to see a team up. That team up would be awesome.
Did you read the comics and watch the show of Runaways?
I actually did not watch the show, but I loved the comics. I don't think I finished all of them, but I love the comics. I love Cloak and Dagger as well. I did watch that show.
Okay.
But yeah, I just feel like for some reason in the MCU, the MCU fans are so anti-teenage, anti-youth.
They're anti a lot of things, right? And like what we're hearing, or at least seeing these people preemptively be like, this looks like a Disney Channel show. This looks like this. First things first, this is a Disney show. These have all been Disney shows, technically, right? But like, okay, what does a Disney Channel show look like to you? I think they just want to complain about something that they have a knee-jerk reaction to.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing that I've been telling people that gets them interested is if you liked Into the Spider-Verse and you liked Scott Pilgrim, this show is for you.
That is a good summation.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim. Well, I think the creators of the show also likened it to those two pieces of media as well. But I would say, yeah, I actually don't remember Scott Pilgrim Lunch. But I loved Into the Spider-Verse, by far one of my favorite Marvel films ever. And I would say, yeah, it's very, very similar in that sense.
I didn't think about that. Also, we're only one episode in, or at least I am. Not, but I'm only one episode in, and it's like, I didn't think about that connection. But yeah, you're right. Into the Spider-Verse and Scott Pilgrim. That's a good summation.
Yeah, I think even just from the first episode, you can tell that. Just visually, the show is like, if any of your viewers or listeners haven't seen it, like just visually, I feel like it's worth it to watch that first episode because they do some crazy stuff visually. And there's so many references to the art and the source material from the comics visually. So I love it.
I love the comics. It's been like the most solid run I've ever read, because runs relatively go up and down on like other superheroes, but the fact like the creative teams always seem to know who Kamala Khan is. When they write her, right?
Because like I said, she doesn't have like 100 years behind her. Like it's like all you have to do is read like a few issues and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Right.
I would say there are actually a couple things from the show that I like that they've done better than the comics. In particular, and I made a TikTok about this, but her relationship with her brother, Amir.
Yeah.
In the beginning, especially, like he kind of has a pretty minimal relationship with her in the comics, and he's kind of seen as like overly religious.
Yeah.
But in the comics, it's not that in the show, it's not that he's less religious. He's just portrayed as having a strong and healthy relationship with his faith rather than just being kind of the butt of a joke. And that's kind of something I didn't like about the comics, is he was kind of made fun of for his religiosity. Right. And I appreciate that the show like embraces that he is a faithful man. He's a man of faith. And he's also so much like his relationship with Kamala is so much cuter. Like even despite their age difference, like it's very brotherly.
Yeah, I liked it in the show when Amir like came to her room.
Yeah. That's the scene I was thinking of too.
Yeah, and they talked about that. People obviously, like, when this show was announced and coming up to this like first episode, people were afraid or sometimes negative with good reason. Let's talk about the negative with good reason, but like about changes from the comic to the show. Did you have a problem with, let's just say, I think big thing was the power set difference?
So I'm probably one of the few people that will tell you that I actually like and understand that change. I will say, the reasoning behind her powers in the comics is that Sana Amanat and the creative team wanted her to have a set of powers that was unusual. It wasn't sparkly, it wasn't girly. It didn't need to be made digestible for an audience, right? And it was representative of her coming of age story, of her going from this teenager who feels weird about herself all the time to a confident superhero that embraces her weird powers. And that message is lost. I agree. And but I understand why they made the change. And I think that the more you watch the show, you'll understand too. No spoilers.
We could spoil the first episode. I would assume that everybody.
I think most of it is the second. I think most of it is
you've seen the second episode, and like that's fair.
Yeah, but I think when you watch the second episode, you'll understand why they changed it. Okay. But I think that Marvel they just forgot about that message because they were trying to, I guess, make her powers more similar to Carol's or whatever.
Right.
But they could have easily kept that message by changing the coloring, like not making it rainbow or making it sparkly. They could have like made the CGI look a little weirder, I guess. She doesn't have to have stretchy powers. She also uses the powers similarly to how she uses them in the comics. So I don't think it's that big of a jump, to be honest. Right. But the reason I actually like it more, and I won't say any spoilers, I think that the origin of these powers are much closer to her Pakistani heritage than her origin, where in the comics where she is an Inhuman and is exposed to the Terrigen Mist.
Right.
And I think that when you see the second episode, you'll be like, oh yeah, totally see where that's coming from.
Okay. Interesting. Now I need to see the second episode. Like, thanks for that. But all right. Are you a fan of the Inhumans? Because I
hate them.
I'm a mutants first X-Men, like I'm a big X-Men fan, and so like Inhumans suck. And
I feel like I've tried to read so many, like the good, the bad Inhuman comics, and I can never get through them. I agree. I'm definitely pro X-Men, but I understand what they were trying to do with the Inhumans, especially they were like pushing them as a replacement, probably because they wanted to bring them into the MCU for a while there. But I just don't like the concept of like, I realize in some of the concepts, it's like they're like an elite race that has to come to terms and be like, well, actually, we're not better than humans. But it's just like Black Bolt's and Medusa's like outlook in the comics on humans and just how monarchical they are. I just can't get over that long enough to like finish reading one of their runs. Like it's just not interesting to me. Like I prefer a story about the underdog, not the privileged person that learns how to not be privileged.
Right, because there's a difference between T'Challa, who is king of his people, and you can see it and feel it in every iteration of Black Panther. And then you have the Inhuman royal family that's just like, yeah, we're beautiful. We know it. Also,
and they treat their own people like crap.
Yeah.
Like they treat
they have like cast.
The slave cast. They have a whole caste system. The way that they expose the kids to like Terrigen Mist is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm just glad. I don't know if they will make her origins related to the Inhumans. There's still time for them to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they've moved away from that. Yeah. I'm glad they're not doing that.
Yeah. That was my biggest concern going into this. Well, I mean, since they announced the show, I'm like, at some point, we are going to know whether Marvel is like cleaning their hands of the Inhumans thing, or whether they're going to be like, well, now we'll reintroduce Inhumans kind of through this Miss Marvel thing in a softer way.
Well, they did do a soft launch of Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which I was cool with, but the question is like, does he just die and then that's it? Like, we never need to see the Inhumans ever again. I don't think we need the Inhumans in the MCU, mostly because
they're gonna do it though. I feel like they're pushing it.
Really?
I do.
Once people get the taste of mutants, nobody's gonna want anything else.
Yeah, but I think people are just assuming that they're going to bring the mutants into the MCU because they own the properties now. Yeah. But I'm not sure how much that's the case. I'm still very much in the what was his name? Rob Boner is actually still Quicksilver.
Boner. Steve. Scott.
I think it was Rob.
Is it
right? Rob Boner. But I'm still very much in there's no way he's just a random guy camp.
Ralph Boner.
Ralph Boner, yeah.
Boner, yes. I think that was a bait and switch on purpose.
Are you sure? Because in the beginning, remember Wu says that they have like somebody in witness protection, and then they never address that again.
They dropped that, yeah. But
so I feel like it's him, and they're just keeping it on the low.
I don't know what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing when it comes to the multiverse, because they, like, as just a science fiction fan, a comic book fan, a fan of the idea of a multiverse, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense. Like, the MCU is breaking their own rules when it comes to the multiverse. So, like, would I be confused if they were like, oh no, that is Quicksilver, whatever? I'm sure they could figure out a way. That being said, I feel like Kevin Feige would just rather recast the whole X-Men universe. Like, instead of bringing in casting that was done elsewhere.
You think it was just like a silly little cameo to like...
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it was a nod to the audience. It was a Easter egg as opposed to... Like, all Easter eggs don't have to be part of the, like, continuity.
Right? I agree, yeah. I do think MCU fans in particular tried to, like, overthink things, especially in that show. I mean, Mephisto.
Yeah. Oh, my God. WandaVision was... Because we did an after show for WandaVision. That was the first after show we did. And it was wild. It was just, like, everybody's theories galore.
I don't know if you've seen... I'm one of those people that tries not to theorize.
Okay.
I'm like one of those people that it's like, I don't want to spoil it for myself. I just want to watch it. Yeah. And like, I don't need to feel smart for like predicting stuff. Theorizing is okay. If you do want to feel smart for theorizing, like that's totally fine by me. But I'm like one of those people that like first lay back and just watch and not overthink. Because a lot of the times it's like, well, I've read the comics, so it's like I have contacts that other people don't have, and it's like I don't want that. I don't want to remember that. I just want to watch.
Do you feel like this show is kind of prepped for like following just the rough comic continuity of this character?
I feel like because of how near and dear Kamala is to the Ms. Marvel fans, people have latched on to the comic book continuity. Like when we watch a Peter Parker movie or an Iron Man movie, are you like, this is nothing like the comics? Like, no. Did you watch Loki and you're like, this is nothing like the comics? But I feel like people are like obsessed with this particular show being like the comics.
Yeah.
And I am very much not that person. If I want to read the comics, I'll just read the comics. I'm okay with the MCU being different. And so far, I love the direction that the show is going versus the comics. The first episode is very much like right out of the comics. But by the second episode, you'll see that they definitely are taking it in a different, fresh direction. And I love the direction that they're taking it. I think the story is going to be very connected to her heritage, to her being Desi, to her being Muslim. And I love that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the events of the episode 1. we start off with sort of she does videos for YouTube, right? That's kind of her thing, right? So she's doing videos, cardboard cutouts. What I thought was like really cool just visually is like the little paper Hulk, and he rips the Chitauri guy. I think it's a Chitauri guy, or it's Avenger, or it's Endgame, right? So it's one of the Outriders or whatever they're called, and he like rips them in half and it accordions out, and like it was like super cool and really visual appealing.
Yeah, like I said, the visuals in the show are just top notch, extremely creative. The way that they tie in animation, pop art, it gets worth watching for that alone. I think.
And then so we see that she dropped, like she posts it, and it's sad because like she doesn't have to.
And then Bruno makes that comment like, "Oh, I have no idea who this person that made this page is." I don't know if you noticed that. Like,
yeah, I saw that when it's like going through the
he makes a comment on her YouTube channel like, "I don't know who this is, but this is amazing." I love how supportive he is of her in the show, and that's not to say like he isn't supportive of her in the comics. But I definitely am biased towards show Bruno, particularly because my husband is actually also white and an engineer, and we met like at the same age that they did, and our first dates were conventions.
Yeah.
And he's just like him, I feel like. So I'm biased in that sense.
I saw like a red carpet interview with the actor who plays Bruno, and he was dressed nice, and he's wearing a chain. And I'm watching it. I'm like, I'm watching you, white boy. I want to see, like, are you gonna slip? Are you cool? Are you with us? Is this just a gig to you? Are you know what I mean? But he seems cool. Seems cool.
That's why I never want to look at what the actors are up to. Yeah. They're so sus sometimes. But I also love how into Kamala's culture Bruno is in the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. He like learns little words of Urdu and like he tells her it was his idea for her to go and find something Pakistani to wear with her costume.
He's very supportive, and to like a great example of like, I can't be mad at him. I can't like, I'm not gonna hate on him. No, like
he has some haters in the comics.
Does he?
Yeah,
because the comics.
In the comics. Yeah.
Bruno's kind of weird in the comics, right? Like I'm trying to remember what he does. Doesn't he get like weird at a certain point where it's like
I think his character, like I think maybe
when he breaks his arm?
I don't remember that, but it's like when I don't remember, they fought about something. He goes to Wakanda.
Yeah.
So they have some distance. Arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like his characterization was kind of up and down in the comics.
Yeah.
He took a while to develop, and then like he just changed sometimes. He's kind of a douche to Kamala sometimes. Hoping that doesn't happen with show Bruno. I'm way too attached to him already.
Yeah. Also, he's drawn kind of uglier in the comics.
He's like I don't know about uglier. He's like a skater boy
in the comics.
Yeah, like a skater boy type. He wears like a beanie. He has long hair.
Yeah. I'm trying to look up pictures of Bruno in the comics. For some reason, I just always think he looks like a goat.
You know what? Show him actually looks like my husband too.
Really?
Like they have the same haircut, like the same facial structure.
I just realized where I've seen the show Bruno from. He was on Walking Dead.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Does he die?
Spoilers.
I think I remember him dying. I think. I could be wrong. But no, I like Bruno. But then again, like when Red Dagger shows up in the comics, then I'm all. But then Red Dagger says dumb things, and I'm like, no, forget you. Red Dagger's not cool to me anymore.
I feel like the villains and like anti-heroes in the comics definitely are hit or miss. Yeah. I loved the Tinker, which was like her first one. I loved that he was like Thomas Edison but with a bird head. I hope they have him in the maybe in the second season or something.
I'm trying to remember all the different villains in Miss Marvel because like I have read
and she has the team up with Wolverine fighting him.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember who else.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember Red Dagger.
Red Dagger's the Pakistani superhero.
Kamran? No, right?
Yeah, Kamran.
It's Kamran.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't remember his comic book name.
Yeah, he has the red, like he has like a red scarf that he puts around and like they meet in Pakistan.
Yeah. Okay, so is he her cousin or not?
No, he's not. No,
in the
he's
show.
Not related.
In the show.
He hasn't appeared yet.
Oh shit!
I think that's episode 2. I knew he was coming.
Sorry.
I knew he was coming. But they wouldn't make him a cousin. That'd be weird. But
I think they do. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I guess I'll have to watch episode 2. But I knew that he was popping in because he was in the trailer.
Yeah, he is in the trailer.
You were talking about the inventor, the parakeet.
Inventor.
He's a clone of Thomas Edison.
Yeah, with a
parakeet head. Yeah. There's a couple other like cool. Is Kamran Red Dagger? I think he is. But they never. No, Kareem is Red Dagger. Who's Kamran?
Oh, okay. Kamran. He's one of the. He shows up pretty early. But I think they're changing his. They have a romantic relation. They start to talk to each other.
Oh, is he the one of the guy on the character posters?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he is one. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think they're going a different direction with him in the comics. Okay. So yeah, honestly, couldn't tell you that much about him. Yeah. To be honest.
I'm interested in the changes and kind of like what it does and kind of how they're going to expand from this point on. But like, are there characters that like you want to see like pop up?
Other than the inventor?
Do you really want an MCU version of like a parakeet head guy?
You're right. I don't know if it would translate that well to live.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
But he's so cute in the comics.
But he's bad, right? He's a bad guy?
He's bad, yeah. But he's like funny. He's like a silly villain.
Yeah.
You know, he's like a cartoon, silly villain.
Well, they all are, right? Like Doc X or whatever is that like video game kind of troll looking guy.
That's what I was saying. Like her villain, her rogue gallery is so weird. She has the weirdest rogues gallery.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's so much fun. So I guess I would like to see. I think the first season they're probably gonna tackle some more difficult subjects. But I would love to see more of that lighthearted villains, maybe, or at least some homage, like to them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I have anyone in particular. I will say, in the comics, Zoe ends up being like a really good friend. Like starts off as her bully, becomes like her and Nakia's good friend.
Yeah.
Super excited to see that, especially because like. So far, and this is what people don't realize is like nowadays, like high school bullies and stuff. I feel like her character's portrayed pretty well in the show, where it's like she's not really a bully. She's not like a mean girl like from Mean Girls, or the Mean Girls in Stranger Things. She's just kind of like
the bullies in Stranger Things are like psychopaths.
I know. I was literally like, I get that they're trying to make it like those 80s movies, but this is too much. No kids act like this. Kids don't act like that.
It's weird.
So I at first, when that scene where she's going into the school, I was like, oh, is this gonna be another like
Ms.
that
Marvel?
where it's
we're talking about
when she's going right before, like when she enters the school, the like coach calls her Camellia. Like kids are kind of mean to her. I was like, oh, is this gonna be another one? Like, where are they gonna show it again? Where they're like kind of just bullies to her, like in Stranger Things. It's like the 90s, 80s movies.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like that. And I like that it was Zoe's quote unquote bullying was like, it's like subtle. It's like, oh, I like your weird ethnic necklace.
Right.
But I am excited to see her character development. I hope they do. They seems like that they want to make her a more of a main character.
Yeah. Well, she got a character poster, right?
Yeah, I think she has a poster and everything. I love her. I love the way she does her eyeliner. Honestly, still loved her Miss Marvel costume on that stage. I love that interaction too. The fact that she like centered herself, but it's not bullying. She's just kind of out of touch.
Yeah. Well, like kind of like Flash was in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes.
Where because
exactly.
Like people aren't like, hey, puny Parker, I'm gonna beat you up and stuff you in a trash can. Like nobody does that anymore. And I'm sure people do that, but I feel what's more prevalent in high schools is more verbal bullying and manipulation and toxicity. You know, we're talking like being antagonistic without being quote unquote aggressive.
Right.
Because then you fly under the radar. Because then the teachers are like, well, you didn't lay a finger on him. Like, what do you... And then it drives the person who's being picked on to like lash out in physical anger, and then they get in trouble. Like, that's a tale as old as time.
Yeah, Zoe reminds me a lot of my middle school bully.
Really?
She didn't have a redemption arc, but but like in the sense that like if anytime I would talk about like my culture, she would like give me a look, like it'd be kind of gross. She'll be like, if I wore like on Eid, I wore mehndi or henna, she'd be like, you know, doesn't it kind of look like poop? Like, why do you put that on your skin? That kind of thing. I don't think Zoe has had that like outright like kind of racist stuff in the show.
It doesn't seem hateful
yet.
That's like, right?
Yeah, she's just kind of like mean girl out of touch.
Yeah.
But but I think in the comics she's more like that, where it's like she's racially insensitive.
Yeah. But then she turns around, right?
Right, exactly. She learns, she grows. Her like arc is one of like the best arcs in comics, period. Like she goes from this person that is ignorant, but she goes out of her way. And I think Nakia has this conversation with her as well. Like, hey, Zoe, you went out of your way to learn about us, even though to you, we were strange, we were other. And like, you are now one of the best people I know. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing that for her in the show.
Yeah. Well, Zoe and Nakia are such integral characters to Kamala's journey. Kamala has a really big supporting cast, and I think it works really well. Just like Peter Parker works really well when Peter Parker has a big supporting cast, right?
I strongly agree. And I love that in the comics, her parents know about her superhero shenanigans. I feel like if I was a superhero, her dad reminds me so much of my dad. My first convention, my mom made my dad go with me. So
that's funny.
He didn't dress up. He tried to. He didn't end up doing it. But that's why I was like, come on, you don't want your dad to go with you to AvengerCon? My dad went with me. And I feel like if I was a superhero, my parents would know about it.
Yeah.
Maybe not my dad. He likes to tell everybody everything. Oh. Maybe he wouldn't keep it a secret.
Yeah. My parents are cool. I would definitely tell them that. But growing up though, like superheroes aren't really their thing. Like we watch a lot of other stuff and like we're cool and we like razz each other and like we're super, like it's super fun. But like superheroes aren't really their thing. So we watch some things, like I'll watch some Spider-Man with my mom and like she's not as into it as I am, but like she's just like, oh, cute. She's like, oh, Tobey Maguire's so cute. Like whatever. But like I remember wanting to go to a convention when I was a kid and like asking my dad to go, and like I understand why my dad wouldn't take me because he just wouldn't have anything to do. Like it's just not his thing. I don't blame him for that. I just know that like I wish I was able to go as a kid, and I think that it's cool like when parents do take their kids. So like I was at Star Wars Celebration a week or two back, and there was just a little brown kid who just like was talking, and like I got to talking, and then like I told the parents, I was like, he's lucky to have you guys because his parents were there, and I was like, I didn't get that, you know.
Well, I will tell you, my dad went with me the first time, and then he never went back.
That's great though. He took you once. That's good.
Well, but it was like he went there to scout it out. He's like, what is this thing?
Right.
You know, is
what
it
is
dangerous?
Avengers Con?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was Florida SuperCon.
Okay, yeah.
And which now is owned actually by ReedPop. I'm going again this July. It's like my home con.
Is ReedPop? Does ReedPop own these conventions?
Yeah, so they bought it from the SuperCon guy.
Interesting, because ReedPop did Star Wars Celebration.
Interesting. I don't know when they acquired that, but I know they do NYCC as well.
Okay, interesting. It was cool. I mean, it's cool that your dad took you and he scoped it out. Fine, I understand that. Again, my dad would just be like, I don't want to, I'll drop you off, and then that'll be it. Like, I think my dad he's protective, but like, or at least when I was younger, he was protective to the point of like, he's like, you can protect yourself. I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah, well, I'll say it's different for Desi girls and Desi boys for sure. I mean, once he like went there, and he made sure I always went with friends afterwards. But it was like he was kind of freaked out by everybody. Like there's people with like latex suits. He did have a good time because him and my uncles, they liked Star Trek, and George Takei was the guest of honor there.
Oh, that's cool.
So he had a good time. He got to see George Takei's like speech and panel and stuff. So he did have a good time there. But cool. Like once he like went, he was like, well, I don't want to tell her not to go. So she can go with her friends because I don't want to go with her anymore.
You brought up a thing that I wasn't even thinking about how that experience is different boys to girls and the way a family would treat. So we see that in this episode, right?
Yeah,
in episode 1 with like, they would of course let Amir do what he wants to do, but they're not going to do that with Kamala, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was what it was for him. He was like, are there going to be boys there? Like, are there going to be, people trying to date her there?
Yeah. Wait, are you talking in the show or your own experience?
My dad. And then also the show. Like, that's the thing is like, are there going to be boys there? Is there going to be alcohol there? Like, are there going to be people trying to get her to do, stuff that I don't want her to do?
When Kamala says, what did she say about cocaine? And they
that was so much like me, because I would literally be like, I would literally say that with my parents all the time. Well, I'm not doing cocaine. Like, I would say that all the time.
Right. I would use that type of defense when I was younger. My parents were like, why aren't your grades better? And it's like, well, all the other kids are cheating and paying for their test answers. At least you have a good son. And then they're like, just get your grades up, dude.
I didn't have a problem with my grades. My brother does, though. Yeah. He doesn't like to do his homework.
Yeah, I didn't like to do my homework.
But it seems like Kamala has that problem, too, is that her head is in the clouds. She's always fantasizing.
I relate so much to that, because when I was in class growing up, I don't know if you were this way, would you draw in class?
No, I wasn't much of a doodler. Okay. Honestly, I was pretty good in school.
Oh, okay.
But because I'm like the oldest, like I had to be.
I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest, and I was the doodler. And then my younger sister got to like she settled down. She did her stuff. Like she was straight and narrow, and I was just like, oh, Kamala.
My head in the clouds came like with my extra. I agree with you. Like my parents, they weren't superhero people, but I've literally been reading comics since I was like. Before I could read. I remember like my cousins had comics and I would I didn't know English. I didn't know how to read. Yeah. So I would page through them. And then when I did learn how to read, I was 5 when I would start collecting these comics. So I've just been, of course it was weird for them at first. Like my mom would be like, why are you always watching fighting? But now my dad is hyped for Miss Marvel. They're like, what's the Disney Plus password? So now they're my mom was always one who took a strong, went out of her way to know my interests at least. She wouldn't participate in them. My dad was more of the participator, but he didn't really keep up. He was
Have your parents seen this show?
Not yet. I was taking a nap when they asked me for the Disney Plus.
Okay.
So I don't know if
you're depriving them of this show.
I'm sorry. I think hopefully they'll watch it together tomorrow. I think it's their anniversary, so they'll probably do that.
I think I might show my mom this show. And how I said earlier about different people getting different things and relating to this in a different way. I think there's a very similar immigrant experience.
Exactly.
I don't feel like you have to be I don't think you have to be Pakistani or Muslim or even brown. I think that I have a friend who's from Bulgaria, and he might have a similar immigrant experience to this.
Oh yeah, especially like if you're from anywhere where it's like you had to escape persecution in some way. I think my dad will love Muniba's parents. I think that's what they're going to watch it for. They're going to watch it for the representation of Islam, and also like the stories of the partition, which you'll see later when they talk about the partition.
Yeah.
Which we see that in the comics too. Is
right.
For the story of the Bangles is from when her grandparents were escaping the partition.
Yeah. I want to reread this because I've read every single issue of Miss Marvel, but again, it's been around since what, 2014?
Oh, exactly. There's so much I don't remember. I recently read the first 2 volumes again. That's why I'm kind of more. I remember a little bit more again.
I wanna buy them. I like to buy comics that if anyone asks. Like,
I'm the same way. I have a Marvel Unlimited and a DC Universe subscription, so I'll like read the stuff I like. Digital. Sometimes I'll like just, especially at conventions. I don't buy my comics anywhere else anymore. Like I go to conventions and I come back with like a suitcase full of comics.
Right, because then there'll be like $10 trades, and I'll get like 100.
Exactly, or like
trades.
Buy one get 2 free or something. So
yeah.
So sometimes I'll do that, but it's like I'll read the digital and then I'll buy the trade.
Yeah.
Especially because I go to so many conventions, I like to look at the guests and then take them my books to get signed. And now I was so sad. I didn't get to, the cast was there at the premiere, and so was Sana Amanat.
Oh, they were? You didn't get anything signed?
No, I didn't get to meet any of them. I only met Anjali.
Who's on?
She voices Overwatch, Symmetra in Overwatch.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, she's in the first episode. She was like the lady when they're shopping for her salwar kameez at the store. She comes in and starts talking about the other girl.
The auntie?
Yeah, the auntie. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to look up the character, but okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. But she was there at the premiere?
Yeah.
That's cool. Did you what did they say about, there's so many good scenes in this episode that there's the scene where she's like, you're too short. Oh, she's not too short. It's the thing. And then the auntie comes in and is, you're too short, and their mom's like, you're too short. It's like
that's how they all are. Another part I liked was like I didn't get, because she was like, oh, you're not going to wear those skimpy outfits. Like, she wears a tight outfit. And then Kamala says, it's not that tight. Because I agree with her. The version she made was not that tight. But my parents were the same way, where it's like, but she was wearing like leggings and the top was not low enough to cover her bum.
Right. It's the
so like
part of
just that. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like she could have shown the costume to them and they could have like offered suggestions to change it or something.
Yeah. Lengthened. I mean, if like they could have lengthened the whole like shirt thing and kind of done.
Or she could have done what she was gonna do. She was gonna tie that red scarf around her bum, which is very similar to Carol's original costume as Miss Marvel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's funny is, because again, tying into these comic book characters have been around for decades, right?
Right.
Carol has not had the best track record with costumes. It's literally like a one-piece, like bathing suit kind of swimsuit, right? And it's like thigh-high boots. Yep. But then
it was like what female superheroes wore back in the 2000s.
But it was like, it was weird. But like, it's funny because in the show they mentioned that it's not
accurate, right? Because Zoe wears her original costume.
Wears the skin tightiest one, right? And like, but that's not in the MCU. That's not
accurate. Exactly. So they're like, it's not even accurate. Yeah, I love that part. I love that reference.
Yeah.
She looks great though. I loved her hair. She like teased her hair up. Zoe? I loved it.
She looked great. That comment was not a dig at Zoe. Like
for sure.
She seemed like a fan, like her character seems like a fan of Captain Marvel, which is awesome. By the way, something I just wanted to point out is Scott Lang has his podcast.
I love
and he's the one telling people secrets about the Avengers and stuff. And that's how like Kamala knows all these things. Cause it's like Captain Marvel should not be very well known on Earth.
Exactly. That, and I think you want to know, I think that's why show Kamala latches onto her. Because when I was a kid, I would go for these characters that like I would like latch onto these characters that were more obscure or less known, because I could kind of read all their comics all at once and learn more about them and spread out from there. And I feel like that's what it was for her. She says that in that scene, like somebody that comes out of nowhere and does something great. Yeah. And that's what Kamala ends up being. She's going to be be someone that comes out of nowhere and does something great. And that's why she latches onto her. So
yeah. How sad did you feel when the parents came in and they tried to like meet her halfway in their own sincere way? They were being sincere, even if it isn't something that a teenager wants. The dad comes in painted green on his face and like
that was literally the saddest thing in the theater when I was watching that. Yeah. I like had a little teardrop because like I said earlier, I was like, Kamala, you don't want to go to this convention with your dad? And she like made her a Hulk costume. That's why I was like, I feel like if she had shown her mom the costume, her mom could have like fixed it up to make it a little different.
Yeah.
And I was like, he looks so cute with the like green paint and everything. And like, I love how it was a kurta. He was wearing a green kurta.
Yeah.
And then he just put abs on it. It was so cute.
I think it's like, yes, I understand like a teenager doesn't want to just kind of go with their family or whatnot. That being said, Kamala could have shown her costume. They could have like edited the costume together. And then she could have gone with her father without being a big Hulk, little Hulk. Just have her father be the Hulk, and she could be Captain Marvel.
Exactly.
And then like Bruno was Banner anyway. Like, you know, though in earlier I thought he was going to dress as Tony Stark when they were like faking. They were like planning it out.
Yeah,
and, like,
she
became like prom queen or whatever at the convention. Like he was dressed as Tony Stark, but then it turns out
he wears Scott's mask at one point too.
Oh, in that scene when they're
when they're at the convention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I agree. But you know what? Like I said, it's different for girls growing up. Like for me, it was like if my dad was gonna let me go, he just wanted to be there. I was like, that's a good deal. I'll take that because otherwise I'm stuck at home.
Right.
I was not brave enough to sneak out anywhere.
Yeah. I don't think I've sneaked out a day in my life. My sister either. Like there was no way.
I've definitely like stayed out longer than I should have.
Oh yeah.
I've definitely like if I was supposed to be one place, I would actually be somewhere else.
Yeah, everybody's done that.
Yeah, but I've never tried to sneak out in the middle of the night. No. Ever.
It's more like if you're out, you're out. You better do what you need to do while
exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I'll face the punishment later. But it's like you sneak out, over. My life's over.
Right. Oh, yeah.
She honestly got off real light. She got off light.
Yeah. Yeah. At Avengers Con, though, like, did you like the whole Avengers Con thing, or was it?
Yes, I loved it. Yeah. Because I think in the comics, it's like she just wants to go to, like, the party. It was just like there was no Avengers Con in the comics. I loved Avengers Con. I loved that it was like the first con for the Avengers. I'm so curious. When we were watching it together again, me and my husband, I was like, I wonder who set it all up, like who created the set. Okay. So curious because they had some real fan art, like the card with the Captain America and like
the butt cheeks,
bubble butt. Yeah. I think that's a real piece of fan art.
America's ass. Like somebody was saying that like it has to be Scott telling everybody about everything. Like Scott's telling everybody about America's ass. Scott's telling everybody about everything. People are saying like obviously it's Scott who did the Steve Rogers musical like information. Like it has to be Scott.
I think some of it's like pieced together, similar to like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when they watch the play, put the pieces together from the Cabbage Guy and like other people around too. Yeah, but I can't imagine. I feel like I can totally see Scott doing interviews and podcasts and all that stuff I couldn't see anyone else doing it.
Yeah.
To be honest. So definitely him doing it.
Yeah. Avengers Con. That whole thing was just kind of funny. With the Ant-Man head that just kept rolling.
I know. And then the Thor hammer comes down. I'm assuming it was made of styrofoam because she would have been.
It hit her hard, and she was just screaming all over the place. It's kind of cartoony, but I like it. What am I gonna?
Yeah, it was silly. I liked it though.
Yeah.
But I'm so curious about the set. Like, I'm definitely one of those people that like loves behind the scenes stuff and going to conventions and being like into costuming and stuff. Like, I just want to see how they made Avengers Con happen.
You're thinking about that, which is a awesome angle. You're looking at it. I was looking at it from a point of view of like these background actors, like because
like were they actually did they have like a real convention? Like,
well, they had to have gone through some sort of like background service, like casting service.
They're probably just extras.
But like those extras are also in real life fans of Marvel. So you know what I mean? So it's this weird layer of like they're gonna dress up in their own cosplay to be characters that are in cosplay in the background of an MCU TV show. And like
I feel like some of the costumes they definitely supplied for them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm wondering whether there are costumes that they would not allow because it would break continuity.
Oh, true. That's true. Yeah,
I saw a costume of Gamora. And then but nobody would know Gamora. Except, unless Scott talked about Gamora on the podcast.
Or Thor. I feel like Thor would do interviews.
Oh. Because they bring up Valkyrie a lot in this episode, in episode 1.
Yeah, because she says, oh, maybe I could be like Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Valkyrie, Captain Marvel, yeah.
Also, why wouldn't anyone just like Valkyrie better than Captain Marvel? Like, Valkyrie lives on Earth.
What pissed me off about Valkyrie? That first costume from Ragnarok when she comes out, it's the white one. It was like one and done. They never brought that costume back.
Right.
And it's literally one of my favorite. Right? It has a cape, the coolest breastplate ever. I made a pretty controversial TikTok about this, about how I think like a lot of the recent female costumes have been looking the same. They have the same vest silhouette thing. And so that one was really, truly unique. Like, I love the breastplate and everything. That's on my cosplay list. It's a hard yes for me. And somebody told me once that I look like her, like, what's her name? Emma Thompson?
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson. Yeah. And I was really flattered. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this costume because it's literally one of my favorite costumes in the entire MCU. And they never brought it back. It was literally like she had the one scene where she comes out in it, she gets on the gun, and that's it.
Well, she has a swagger to her in that scene, right? Yeah. Like, I can see that, that thing. Yeah, that is a cool costume, and they don't bring it back. You should do it. You should do a Valkyrie costume.
It's on the list for sure.
Yeah. Do you think Zoe's gonna turn into a friend sooner than later? Like, rather, like, are we gonna get another scene of Zoe being a bee to Kamala, or we never get a scene of like Zoe being antagonistic and then she just likes Kamala?
I think so based on like the second episode, I would probably say. I don't know, because in the comics, like, again, she's not like outright mean. She's just kind of just out of touch and just like she does make like backhanded comments. And she does do a bit of that, I think. But I think much less in the comics. So I want to say yes for her being a friend sooner rather than later.
Okay. All right. Again, I forget that you've seen episode 2. So. How do I put this? Because you've seen episode 2. I would normally just ask you, like, where do you feel this is going to go in this season? I
can tell you a little, without really giving too much away.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that the story is going to be much closer to Pakistani heritage. There's something I really want to say.
Oh, no.
I can't say it. Oh, you know what? No, I can.
Okay.
So when she puts on the bracelet, she gets the bracelet, she gets the red scarf.
Right.
Goes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like a weird vision of a bunch of people. Kind of looks like an army.
And glowing eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that the bracelet belonged to either her grandmother or her great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Her great-grandmother. So I think the show is going to imply that someone in her ancestry had her powers before her.
Okay.
I think that's what that's the implication.
Okay.
I have no confirmation whatsoever.
Do you think they're gonna bring in the Inhumans?
I don't know. It's so hard to tell. I feel like some
maybe that's
people
a season 2 thing, maybe.
Yeah, I would say maybe further down the line. Like some people think maybe she is in fact a Inhuman, and the bracelet is made out of Terrigen crystals.
Oh.
Which maybe, but I feel like it shows like I feel like they're strongly implying that the powers come from the bracelet.
I think that the powers are not going to come from the bracelet. I think it's a red herring. I think it's a bait and switch. I think we think that the powers come from the bracelet until the bracelet's broken, and then she'll be like, "My powers are gone."
Classic Disney. Disney.
And then the power was within you the whole time.
Yeah, classic
but then
Disney.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Questions.
It brings up more questions. It's like, if the power is within you the whole time, where did the powers come
from?
from?
Some people think it's like Kree in origin.
Yeah.
So I think people like from just the trailer, I was getting a lot of comments like, "Oh, the bracelet's just technology. It's tech." I don't think it's tech. Maybe
like
maybe
a Green
alien
Lantern
tech.
ring?
Yeah, like a green, like definitely not Earth tech.
Yeah.
It could be alien in origin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be alien in origin.
Okay.
Or maybe she just has the powers. Yeah.
Did you have any final thoughts before we get going? I'm so interested in your thoughts about episode 2, but I can't ask you that until I see it. So.
Well, I don't know if your guest slots are full. You can always have me on for a second.
I could. I'm gonna look at that, maybe.
I have no final thoughts except to ask you what your absolute favorite part of the first episode was. What do you love the most?
Oh, I love Kamala and her like the doodles and the arts and crafts and that sort of thing.
Yeah. There's a lot to like. And that's like definitely one of the highlights of the show.
Cause that was me, like growing up, you know? Head in the clouds, can't focus, ADHD, like drawing pictures, writing fanfics, like, you know, that was me. And so there's a lot that I relate to, you know, this character. And I think that like anyone with a heart can relate to this character regardless. I don't think you have to be a certain X, Y, or Z.
I completely agree. I think like I don't relate at all to like Peter Parker, but I still love him and I still love like it's like I don't relate at all. It's like Iron Man. I'm not a billionaire or man or you know like. But I do feel like that's a sad part of like this show is people are like, well, I'm not a teenage girl. Why would I watch this?
Yeah.
And it's because those types of comments are coming from a community that's always represented. So they don't know what it's like not to be.
Right. And they don't understand how if the shoe on the other foot, like we liked Iron Man. Why can't
I know?
What's the problem here? None of us were rich billionaires.
Yeah, it's like people that say like, oh, like I can't play female leads in video games. And I'm like, well, how do you think women play video games? Like we just we just always play as men.
Right. Or like I would always have to play as a white character.
Yeah.
In a video game, you know? And so it's like it was white character obviously as like they're the default, and then like if there was a black character, no matter what they looked like, I was like, I'm playing as that character.
Me too. I was the same way.
Yeah. Thank you, Risa, so much for coming on this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Talking with me, you know, about episode 1. And let me look at the schedule and see, because I would love to have you back, if not for this after show, but just for like in general. We do a lot of shows with the Keeg. And I'd love to have you back on an episode.
Absolutely. I had a great time.
Yeah.
You're a great interviewer. Like your questions are always really good.
Oh, stop. It's years of headaches. I think that's what it is. It's paying off. It's finally paying off. Where can people find you online? If you want to say your social media out loud, I want to know where we can find you. I want to know what you got coming up, and if you have any plugs that you want to plug.
Yeah, I'm pretty much Raisin cosplay every way. Raisin, like the dried fruit, Raisin, cosplay, COSPLAY. I am most active on Instagram and TikTok, so you can find me on those places.
Okay, awesome. Do you have anything crazy coming up?
Nothing crazy. I have SuperCon coming in July, and I was actually going to go as a Batgirl, so I was trying to do a Cassandra Cain, but then I made Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that we'll see if I still make that for SuperCon, but I'm gonna improve on my Miss Marvel because there's still places to improve on it. I made it in one day. So definitely I have to make like the boot covers, I have to remake her mask.
Yeah.
So that's definitely coming. I'll be posting videos and photos on my Instagram and TikTok about that if you want to keep up with that journey.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to any audience members out there who are watching either right now or after the fact, or listening to the podcast. Matthew Morey just showed up and he says late to the party, but I love this episode. So thank you, Matt, for dropping on by. If anyone's listening to the podcast, it is wherever you get your podcast from: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you're watching the live stream, you're watching us on Volume, Twitch, or YouTube, either or. We got a lot of shows. We got the Obi-Wan after show. We got the Miss Marvel after show. We have a lot of different things. But definitely stay tuned. If you want to find the Keeg on any social media, you can find us at The Keeg Show, TheKeegshow, on Instagram and TikTok are probably the most updated. We're also on Twitter, but really The Keeg Show on like everything, whether it's at The Keeg Show or / The Keeg Show, you can find us wherever you want to find us. Definitely stay in touch that way. And we also have a Patreon. If you're interested in donating back to the show, we got patreon.com/The Keeg Show. Other than all that, that was a mouthful. Risa, thank you so much for taking time out of your night. Because I know, it's even more nighttime for you over there.
It's 2 a.m., but I was going to be.
Are you a night owl?
I'm a night owl. Yeah, I like to do all my like crafting and stuff like post midnight for sure.
That's fair. I can relate to that. Not the crafting and stuff. That I will leave to you. But getting anything done is so much easier at night. So, but thank you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll get you back on another show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dimitri. I'll see you another time.
All right. Take care, everybody. Peace out. And once again, I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. This has been the Miss Marvel After Show for episode 1. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Super